Testing, testing, one, two, three. Urza Master fans, thank you for joining me live. Today we are going to have ourselves a Dell apalooza. And basically what that means is I have way too many Dell machines, all of which are essentially e-waste, none of which I should say some of these I've tested, done videos on before, but it's been a really long time. And many of these machines are brand new to me. So today, starting with this one right in front, we are going to power test, take a look at what's inside here, and I'll actually be featured on the channel. Don't get to see my face too often, but hopefully this goes well. I haven't done a live cast in a long time, so appreciate you tuning in. And don't mind me if I'm walking around, getting in front of things here. I'm just not used to going live. So today, to start out, we've got an XP Pro machine. This is an Optiplex GX520. This one I don't think I've ever opened up or powered on the channel. Just giving it the old shake test. I don't feel anything loose in there. It's really coated with dust. This has got an old Pentium D inside. Designed for XP. It advertises that it's capable of Vista. I highly recommend not using Vista. One thing we do need is a power cable here. But just to get started, we're going to go ahead and plug in our PS2 keyboard and mouse. We would, but not PS2 capable. A little too new with USB, so forgive me for stepping off screen for the moment. I'm going to see if I can find us some cables. All right, so since it doesn't have PS2, I dug out an extra e-waste keyboard I have here. It's a little chiclet, but it has nice resistance actually for a little chiclet style Logitech. It is a USB keyboard. And this is a USB 1, it looks like, so older style. Hopefully it's compatible enough. Get that plugged in. This is an old power cord. Oof, I'm not sure how old, but judging on the grades, old enough. And we've got an HP monitor. I have Dell monitors. I just happened to grab the closest one with the nicest screen. I believe this is the CTX. No, actually, this is the one I used when a CTX didn't work, but it does work well. So we've got an auto power on, power off. So just plugging it in anyway. Sounds like it's powering on, and we've got a Dell boot. So we'll take a look at that. I'll step off screen here and watch with y'all. And it looks like we've got an error here. Let's check out what that error is. So we've got fan failure, voltage is low, time of day, floppy seek. There's no floppy on here. It's got the disk drive and the CD-ROM. So let's go ahead and just hit the continue F1. With a fan failure there, I'm going to guess at some point in its history, this thing overheated. And we've got a boot to XP. We know we've got a good power on. Dead CMOS battery is easy enough to fix. And we'll give it some time here. All right. And we'll see. We've got a login screen. So it's XP Pro, which is great to see. Oops. And sorry, I'm having some issues here with my screen, but hopefully y'all can see. If not, I'm just going to rotate the screen orientation here to try and get back. Okay, so we've got a login screen. Good boot on the first machine here. So this will be one we'll be diving into a little more in detail. Again, this is our GX520, and we'll go ahead and power it down. I gotta say, it's pretty quiet for something that has a fan failure. Usually if it fan fails, there's a bearing bad or something where it gets stuck and it just roars. But this one must be fairly new with a quieter configuration on the fan. Good news is the keyboard works, monitor picked up everything. So we'll go ahead and pull our keyboard, pull the monitor, and finally pull the power. And so let's see about opening up this case. Now the nice thing about these small form factor Dells is they open up super easy just with the release there. You can see it's got a nice flat cover, nice heavy aluminum. Looking in here, it's a proprietary Dell board, as to be expected. It is actually a sticker in here. Quality control sticker that was just sitting in there. I'm just looking to see what we've got inside here. And nothing really that spectacular. We've got a Samsung hard drive, 80 gigabyte SATA. We've got 2 sticks of RAM at just over a gig, or actually 1 gig. Giant CPU cooler. Again, this is just a Pentium D. I'm not really that interested in getting a look at it. It's got a nice Sony disk drive. That's a DVD CD writer. Those are pretty nice and handy. Honestly, overall, this is a pretty nice machine. It's a good XP machine. It's only got 2 channels of RAM. I'll pick it up here. I don't know if you'll be able to see or not. But looking inside, 2 channels of RAM, so there's no way to really give this any more oomph other than upgrading 2 sticks, and that might be a bit of a leap. So we'll go ahead and close it back up. I will say the nice thing about Dell's, as annoying as proprietary systems can be, is that for the most part they're decently built for a consumer product, and they'll work pretty much right out of the box. Remember how things orient when you put them back. I'm always fiddling with stuff and forgetting how it goes together, but there's your first one. Again, small form factor, XP Pro, Pentium D, boots great. It's an Optiplex GX520. Next up, we've got 18 others to choose from. Let's go with an older machine. This one, I believe I've looked at on the channel before. This one here is a Dimension L800R. It's got a Pentium 3 in it, built for Microsoft Windows 2000 NT 98. I think this one might even have Millennium Edition installed. I'm not going to open it up just yet. I want to test boot first, so let's go ahead and give it power. This one does have PS2 capabilities, so let's plug that up. Move our USB keyboard out of the way, and hopefully got keyboard and mouse connected correctly here. Yep. And give it a monitor. Okay, so I don't remember powering this one on, but we'll find out if it works. Got good power up sounds. Woo! I don't know if you can hear that, but if that's a hard drive spin up, awfully noisy. The fan is putting out some nice air, and it looks like we've got a boot. So let's take a look and watch that boot. Looks like it's got Windows XP on it, so somebody did upgrade it from Millennium Edition. And we'll just see how far along in the boot we get. And hello, Status Oli 259. Welcome to the stream. And say hello to the L800R. This has got David, Joyce, and Tom as user accounts. So we've got a good boot. Again, this is a P3. We'll go ahead and power it off. If we can. It may not let us. I guess we'll find out. Sometimes on these older Dells, if I remember right, the power button wouldn't actually shut it off with Windows XP. And you actually had to use the turn off feature. Looks like the mouse works. This is just an old ball mouse. I actually had to clean this mouse up before the stream, and it was really gooey. So I'm happy that this thing ended up being able to work. But great, we've got another booter, XP machine. It's got a nice look. I really appreciate these old clam cases. This one, of course, is the release style, similar to the small form factor. Unlike the older style clam cases, which was just one big wraparound that you kind of lifted back and off. These are just quite a bit nicer. They are still aluminum. They're not plastic. Like some of the compacts of the era had the plastic case over the metal shell. So they hold up pretty nice over time. This one definitely needs some good cleaning. But overall, this is a pretty nice machine. And Pentium 3s kind of run forever. I don't know if this is a slot 1 style or if this is a traditional socket style. But we'll see. And I'll give it to Windows XP for shutting down really slowly. It sounds like we are good to go. We'll pull the power, keyboard and mouse, and finally monitor. Let's take a look inside. So you pull your release, slides out from the side. Nice heat shield inside. Oh, this actually is a plastic case. Well, that's good to know. Absolutely filthy inside. I don't know if you can see the close-up, but looks like this might have been in the house of a smoker or maybe been through, I don't know, a fire. It's pretty gross. We've got PC 100 memory in here. Looks like a couple of DIMMs, and it is a traditional socket. You probably won't be able to see it without being close up, but got a sound card in here. Doesn't look like it's anything too fantastic, but it is a discrete sound card. Trying to get a look at what it is without pulling it out. And it is a Creative Labs card, so might be something we look at a little bit closer in the future. Nice Intel chipset. Of course, we've got a Quantum Fireball in there. It's a nice old hard drive. One of my favorites from back in the day. But one thing I do want to show on this is this back panel here. Now, hopefully you can see this. This is just loaded with, looks like greasy dust. Possibly again from a smoker, but it could also just be like a body shop or something where it had a lot of grease or chemicals in the air. Maybe a kitchen. Take care of your machines. But the good news is it does still boot against all odds, perhaps, but you know, sometimes you got to give credit where credit's due, that they built a fine machine back in the era where this Dell was made. I really like this case. I will say this is probably going to be a keeper in the long term. Next up, we've got our pick of the litter, 17 more to go. This is a newer one in terms of the old ones I've had sitting around. It's a Dell, and I believe this is an Inspiron. Yep, 531. I think I've done a case study on this, but I don't think I've ever tried boot test. Let's give it a try. I will say on this one, it's got one of those sticker blockout panels on the back. I'll show when I'm done here. Oftentimes, what I found with those back in the day is those actually hid some of the other onboard inputs, and that could complicate things. I'm guessing the PS2 port is hidden there. I hear a beep code. I don't think you'll be able to hear it, but there's a beep code going, and there's our Dell. It's got an error. Unfortunately, can't read the chat, so I'm gonna have to come and read it with you. And we've got previous attempts have failed at checkpoint 12H. You can retry the boot or head into setup. It's got an Athlon 64 dual core, 3800 plus, and looks like a good amount of RAM going on in the system. A couple of SATA drives, DVD rewriter, and a good style hard drive. I don't know what checkpoint 12H is on a Dell, but let's just see if we can get it to go. Try again here. We've had boot errors on the first machine, so I'm hoping that might get more here from this machine. And a shout out to Mohammed Nazeh. Hope I said that right. Appreciate you. 1245 in Kerala. Well, thank you for joining from so far away. Nikentki, welcome. And we've got a boot. If I'm not mistaken, this looks like Vista. It was built for Vista. We'll see how long this takes. Vista used to boot up in days instead of minutes and hours. I will say the Athlon 64 dual core was one of my favorite processors. I think I ran that in my personal system for a very long time. Socket AM2 plus, AM3 was kind of where I did most of my work, if I remember right. Prior to that, it was older style stuff like 486s, 586, 686. So looking at this boot here, looks like it's going to do some disk check. Should we skip it? Should we let it roll? What do you guys want to do? Let's let it roll. Let's let it check this disk. I'm very curious to see how long this takes on Vista. It's been a long time. I do remember running this when I ran Vista on my main command center. I think I probably had a check disk run once a week, twice a week. I don't know if it was just a symptom of running the second worst Windows operating system of all time. I will say I remember when Millennium Edition, Windows Mistake Edition came out. I had one computer. It was an old Compaq. I don't even remember where we got it, but that thing was a piece of crap, and I could not wait to get Vista replaced. But as much as people complained about it, it really wasn't or excuse me, ME replaced. But as much as people complain about Vista, it was never as bad as Windows Millennium Edition. That thing took forever to boot. Didn't matter what processor you had, how much memory you had. It was like a standard across the board. I'm sure there's a very technical explanation for that. Resource heavy, bad architecture, bad programming, fat code, you name it. I don't know the ins and outs of it. I was just an end user, and as an end user, it was awful. But you might be asking yourself, why are we doing all of these Dells today? I just happened to notice I brought in 4 new Dells out of the scrapyard, and I was just stacking stuff up, getting stuff kind of put in the production line here in the lab to take a look at things and make some content. And I realized I have a lot of these machines to the point where I was a little bit baffled by, where do they all come from? I don't remember grabbing Dells. I don't remember grabbing them for any specific reason. As a matter of fact, there's a few machines where they're not even like of a processor series I care about or, have anything that they're sporting that I'm really into. Like Core 2 Duos, I've got a couple machines I can see here that have that. I would never pull a Core 2 Duo. That whole chipset wasn't for me. I've always been more of an AMD guy. I do respect some of the earlier Intel stuff, but the Core 2 Duo series just did not spark joy. And I thought, well, what the heck? I haven't done a live stream before where I've done a lot of these boot tests and teardowns. And I thought it might be kind of fun just to go through and see how many Dells I had. This doesn't count. I have a stack of Dell laptops, actually. So there are more Dells in my collection here. So those will be featured in future videos, the laptops, the desktops here. As I'm going through them, I'm going to kind of sort them off into piles. Some of these are going to get stripped and recycled. Some of these I will be keeping, and some of these probably need a little bit more decision making. So I'll probably end up with 3 piles and the same number of Dells at the end of the day. But appreciate y'all joining. As you can see, we're running check disk on this machine. Again, this is an Inspiron. This is a 531. It was built for Vista, came with Vista Home Premium. And by the way, all these Dells, I think, still have the stickers on them with the registration code. I will say, any of these old OSs, you can probably find these codes online. So you're probably not going to gain anything. And I've actually tried taking an old shell that I found at the scrapyard and using the code off of it for a fresh install. Windows 7 didn't work. It's weird because it's a totally authentic code. That system's definitely not in use anymore, but Microsoft just didn't like it. So there you have it. I will say this one's running pretty quietly. I'm looking inside through the power supply in the back here. It's got blue LEDs in the front, which is kind of nice, and it's got a power supply green LED indicator on the back. Again, this has kind of that matte cover. I can tell on board there's definitely some PS2 hidden behind here. I'm not going to need to do it with this machine because it's new enough, but on some of the older machines, Windows 98, 95, where they started introducing USB and wanted to push people towards that factor, they would cover up the PS2 ports native on the board. And if you didn't have the keyboard that came with the system, and you didn't have the driver handy, it was very difficult to get it to recognize a new keyboard. I actually had that problem with an Acer machine that I ended up keeping. Easy workaround, that little sticker on the back, even though it's kind of a plastic sticker, you can take a little X-Acto knife and just cut out the PS2 port, and then it should work just fine. And then of course, once you get the mouse running, you can install the driver for your USB device and it should work. I actually did that, ended up not working in the future, so I said, you know what, I'm not going to keep it original, I'm just going to cut it free. And you can always tell, so for those of you who are in the junkyards looking for these old systems, or if you're just dumpster diving or whatever, if you just feel on the back panel, on that plastic sticker, you can sort of feel where there's screw holes, and then you can also feel where the PS2 port is. Now, not all of these have them, but most of them do. If that's what you're looking for, you don't say you don't have a screwdriver on you or it doesn't have a thumb screw like this one, you can actually just feel for it, and that should give a pretty good indication. Worst case scenario, you could probably use like a Linux installation and get it to go that way. So we got a 3 beep code on this one. I believe that's going to be a memory failure, but let's let it roll through and see what kind of error we get this time. Diskette drive, seek failure, CMOS batteries failed. Bad battery, and there's no floppy, so that's fine. Should be able to get it to boot to Vista this time. Kerosene cucumbers. Hey, I like that name. That's really clever. Don't light them on fire. Kerosene burns real good. Might be something you might want to stick in one of these old machines just to see how well kerosene can melt down an old Dell. I'm not a fan of destroying these old hardware machines. I mean, the cases are take it or leave it. Some are nice, some are okay, and some are just poorly designed, or if they're too smashed up to save. I'm always fine recycling the cases, but some of the stuff's getting a little scarce. Even the power supplies, especially the AT stuff, is old, and it's hard to come by now. So I'm a fan of saving what can be saved. That being said, I'm not the best repair person with power supplies. So I'm starting to kind of phase out trying to solder my way through those. But just trying to see if we can get this Inspiron 531 to get to the logon screen for Windows Vista here. Looks like we might be successful. And there you go. Vista Home Premium. Home. Very clever username by whoever used to own this. Clearly, we've got personal data. I will say, for those of you out there who may be local or may know me from either donating to me or working with me in a salvage yard, I do wipe all of these hard drives. So before I would ever send a hard drive out to pasture or, donate this machine for charity use or local business or something, I wipe everything. It goes down to a clean Windows installation, whether that's totally uninstalling, formatting the hard drive and putting, a new operating system on it entirely, or just returning it to its original factory settings, which does wipe all the data. Now, some of you out there might go, well, that doesn't really wipe all the data. You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all. But the level that somebody would have to go to recover that data, it just would be unreasonable for what you're probably going to find. All right, we're going to try the power button. Works great. Shuts down. So we'll let that shut down and we'll take a look inside. I pulled the thumb screw already. And if you're just joining, I was pointing out earlier that this power supply has an LED on the back, which indicates when power coming to it. One of my favorite things about power supplies. The nice thing is when you do pull the plug on the power, that LED will stay on for a little bit, bleeds it down. That doesn't necessarily mean to safely open up and start touching capacitors, but definitely can give you a good indication as to whether or not this thing's got a lot of current running through it, or if it's just got, you know, the usual be suspect. And for goodness sake, be safe. Don't just go digging your hands in a power supply if you don't know what you're doing. But I'll turn this around real quick. If you can see it there, LED is still on. Indicates there's still a lot of juice in there. Do not touch. All right, nice side panel, metal panel, lots of dust. Pretty clean though, all things considered. We've got loaded RAM bays in here. I'll see if I can discern what kind of RAM we've got. It looks like Dell proprietary. Couldn't tell you. I'm gonna guess probably 256 a piece, which gets us to 1 gig. But let's pull a stick and see. Oh, okay. So we've got 1 gig a piece. So we've got 4 gigs of RAM loaded in here, which is actually pretty good. I'm not sure if the Inspirons came with that much or not, but that's not bad. If this wasn't running Vista, it would probably be a much faster machine. You could probably take this back to XP, but that's pretty good. And this one, of course, is rocking the Athlon 64. I'm not going to pull it. I know you all might want to see it, but it's not really all that exciting. This one has the hard drive bays that load flat. I do like that to a certain extent. These screws are really loose, though. Whoever put that hard drive in, you got to be careful. But I do kind of like it because it frees up space inside for additional fans. There's no room for a fan in here, so this doesn't really make sense. But you still get pretty good airflow. I think there's a lot better options in this case for mounting that hard disk, so that is not exactly my favorite design choice, but overall it's a slick looking case. I like the silver. The venting is pretty nice. This would need a pretty good cleanup. You know, being that it's a Vista machine, my gut always tells me I should probably trash it. That being said, I'm going to be honest, I'm undecided. I will leave it to y'all, the commenters out there. If you feel so inclined, let me know what you think. Do we trash this one, strip it out, send it case back for aluminum recycling, or do we try and save this and make something of it? I will be honest, I have a lot of machines. I don't need it, but I do like an Athlon machine, and this one is loaded with RAM, so we could always save the motherboard and all the components, but I'll leave it up to you. We'll put this in the maybe pile. I will say there's nothing spectacular in here. No expansion cards. There's a modem, which I might save the modems just to see if ever I can make tandem modems work, just to see what I could do with that. I saw somebody do a tandem modem operation with externals and get it up to a T1 connection speed, which I thought was bananas. Really cool, but I don't have that kind of time. So let's start with one of my latest pulls right out of the junkyard, absolutely fresh here. And I will say this one's really clean. We've got a Dimension B110 equipped with a Celeron D. Probably my least favorite Celeron processor for a number of reasons. The first and foremost of which is it's a bad processor. Celerons just, they were intended to be value processors. That's about it if you're not familiar. I just never liked them, and to be honest, I don't think they provided that much value. You were saving a little bit of money, but in the long run, the performance would be so irritating that it really just isn't worth it. But hey, budget friendly is budget friendly. So once again, this one powers right up. This was built for XP Home, And looks like we're getting auto config on everything here. Very quiet, which is inspiring. Oh, the fans are working nice. Not real high RPM. There is LEDs on the back, which actually give you indications A, B, C, and D. I'm not sure what that's for. Input, output, maybe. But it's doing some automatic configuration. Let's go ahead and let it run and see how long this Celeron D takes to get us to a boot screen. Invalid configuration information, so there you have it. All right, so we've got secondary master CD-ROM, and it's got the strike F1, F2 to run setup. We don't have date and time because the CMOS battery's probably dead. We'll F1 it to try and reboot. All right, didn't like it the first time. All right, let's go ahead and go to the setup utility then. All right, so we got a Celeron 2.53 gigahertz. Not too bad. 256 KB integrated L2 cache. Wow. It really doesn't have anything loaded, which makes me wonder how long this has been dead for. Excuse me. Live and in living color. It's really not going to let us try and boot this without setting it up. So we've got a cord for a reason. I will come around to the side and we'll set this up together. And we're just going to leave it as 2006, just after midnight. Drive configuration. Looks like we might not have a hard drive in here. All right, well that would explain why it's not booting. So let's go ahead and just discard. And with that, it answers our first question is, will it boot? No, it won't. But I think the reason it's not booting is the owner was savvy and made sure to pull their hard drive. Or they punched a hole in the hard drive with it still in there. Would not be the only time I've seen that. And, well, let's just see if we can take a look here. And this one's got the release style side panel. The little plastic release lever on the back. And we definitely have a hard drive. So it's very possible the hard drive has failed in here. Or the IDE cable is loose. Let's just see here. Yeah, so we've got probably a bad hard drive. Looks like we've got in here original DDR 400 megahertz. It's got the huge Dell heatsink. Got IDE CD. We've got a floppy installed and a modem. You know, dead CMOS battery. This one, probably not going to be a real keeper. I'd like to see if we can get that hard drive revived. That'd be something probably impossible, but we'll pull that one back apart. This is probably a good candidate for the scrap pile. So we're going to plan on scrapping this one out. Dimension B110. I might actually have another Dimension B110 sitting here. The good news is the case itself is pretty nice. So if I have one that's a little beat up with a similar form factor, I might just reuse that case since it's clean. Let's try another small form factor. This one here is much newer, Optiplex 3010. It's got a Core i5, Windows 7. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I have actually used this in a video before, and I think I might have upgraded this to Windows 10. But that being said, I'm not going to promise anything because I could easily be wrong. I've got a lot of machines sitting around here. Again, no PS2 ports visible. It's got that plastic cover on the back. And actually, I'll show y'all the little trick. So this one, you can see the plastic cover here. If you just feel around, you can feel there's ports here that are not spoken for, and they're hidden. So like right here is a screw hole. Looks like right there maybe actually. There's something above the VGA port. Could be spot for a serial port. Maybe they just reuse this form factor. But definitely above the HDMI here, there's nothing. But next to it is your PS2 ports. So this would be a candidate if you wanted. You could cut this. There's case there, right here, PS2 ports. So I know we talked about that before, and if anybody didn't believe me, I welcome you to try. Again, the one I did it on was an Acer, but it's pretty much a standard practice in the industry. This one fired up right away when I plugged it in. Let's take a look and see. All right, this one's definitely louder. I don't know if you can hear it. Apologize, I gotta wipe my nose. I am outside, so 'tis the season for allergies. We got Windows starting up right away and fresh. And this looks like Windows 7. And there you go, Windows 7 Professional. We've got a Dell logo login user and administrator. So I'm wondering if this was maybe used at a college or in a business, perhaps, internet cafe. But it's got everything on it in terms of the information for registration. So this one, I like the small form factors. We're going to keep it. But we will take a look inside once this is done powering down. Go ahead and pull our USB. We'll give it a second to turn itself off. It's a lot quieter now that it's fully powered up, so that is inspiring to me just because if it was loud all the time, I mean, you can replace fans, but let's be honest, is it really worth it? Windows 7 machines are kind of nice, just because they are modern enough to run more complicated games, but not so modern that like you need to take them online to get them updated. This could definitely be just run offline purely and still be a very fun machine, especially if you have little kids or if you say have a business and want to set up something where, you know, people in a waiting room can, I don't know, play a game or something like I think of dentist's office where they have little kids games, or McDonald's or something. I don't know who would do that or why, because your peripherals are going to get all full of grossness all the time, but then I look at all of the peripherals I have, they're all gross, and I pulled them out of dumpsters. So what are you going to do? I will say Windows 7 takes forever to shut down. I'm surprised this is still going. Hopefully y'all aren't sick of me blabbering, but I'm trying to fill a little time so we can unplug this and look inside. I am a little bit interested to see this Core i5. I don't know what generation it is. Windows 7, so I'm guessing third, maybe fourth, if we're lucky. This might be one I want to do a deeper dive on in the future. Leaning towards smaller form factors, staying in the collection. That being said, how many computers does a person really need? Not any more than one most of the time. But I do enjoy having a few extras, and I've got little kids, so I like to keep stuff hanging around so they can learn on something that if it breaks, who cares? Because these are fairly easy to replace. The older stuff I am a little bit more protective of. This one I think has a double release. Let's see here. There we go. All right. Wow, talk about tidy. Really nice engineering here. It's got a huge heatsink, good chunk of copper on there. Really solid piece. Got a nice DVD rewritable in there. Got a small form factor SATA hard drive. Everything's got these little blue releases, so it's very easy to take this apart. Really nice design power supply. It's got a front fan. The rear cooling is here. Small form factor cooling fan in the power supply itself. You've got room for a low profile expansion here. And I think this is IDE, but it almost looks like it could be AGP. Or excuse me, did I say IDE? I'm an idiot. PCI. I don't know why. I don't know what you would get that has such a low profile. Jump in the comments if there's a low profile video card maybe you would put in this thing, but this is a pretty decent machine. I don't think you would put anything real aggressive in here in terms of like a gaming style graphics card, but you know what, to be honest, I don't know. I don't know why you'd have any expansion for this form factor. But I suppose they gotta have something to make it customizable. This is a cool piece. We're gonna keep it. It's very clean. No power, no noise. All right, moving on. This is kind of a unique one, a little bit newer system. It's a style I'd not heard of, but it's got THX audio. It's a Dell Studio XPS. Now this one, before we do a power on test, I'm actually kind of intrigued to see if there's something inside broken or loose. I will say it's got these old Wi-Fi card antennas on the back that are very loose and won't tighten. So before we do anything, let's go ahead, get it on its side here, and open it up. It's just got one thumb screw, nice aluminum shell. Now these Studio XPSs I remember being quite expensive. Yep, as I thought, we've got a loose heat sink here. Let's go ahead and we're just going to pull this. It's got old thermal paste on it a little bit, and looking at an AMD Phenom 2. So that's nice, and we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 gigs of RAM. So a really nice memory setup. And the BIOS chip in here is 686 American Megatrends BIOS from '99. We've got a SATA hard drive. Again, it's got the side-mounted hard drive bays right here. Hopefully you can see it. Side-mounted hard drive bays. This is the Studio XPS 7100, and it looks like we've got a DVD or CD rewriter in there. There's your Phenom 2. Caps look good. It's got discrete video, which, let's see if we can figure out what this is. Looks like an NVIDIA card. Tough to tell without taking it out, but it's got HDMI, DVI, and VGA. So let's go ahead and we're gonna put the giant copper heatsink back on. It's got enough thermal paste. I don't think we're gonna be running it long enough to worry. We'll start by just plugging the fan in. Actually, I will say the power supply in here makes it kind of irritating to get around stuff. It's not uncommon for Dells, to be honest. Some of them have a really nice design and everything's very convenient. Some of them are just like disgustingly poorly designed where, you know, you can't get at anything, you can't sink anything down without really just rummaging forever. And this here, I gotta be honest, I don't know how this even attaches down properly, because the way this is mounted, it really shouldn't. There we go. It's just stuck. This must have been rolling around in there for a while. I don't see that it caused any physical damage, so there's some hope that the system will fire right up. The Phenom 2 is a nice chip, so this definitely had some good power back in the day. let's see here. And with 8 gigs of RAM, it's not a bad gig in terms of performance. All right, that's sunk down nice. Lock it down with the arm, and if I can get my huge hand in the side here, take off my glasses. They keep falling off my face. PC fan back in play. There we go. All right, so it looks like everything is good. It says a top panel USB expansion on it, and I'm actually just going to leave the side panel off for now because I want to get this actually in motion. Now on the display side, this has onboard DVI. Again, it's got that mat on it, and it's got onboard HDMI. This does not have cutouts for anything else. So this is just a purely functional, not like a masker of any kind. But we have VGA on our mystery graphics card. And I guess it's an NVIDIA. It could be a Radeon piece, I'm not sure. Looks like we've got USB, no PS2 ports. So there is that. And we have, again, discrete video, and we have a Wi-Fi card in here. It's just a small Anatel. Honestly, not a very good one. But it's always nice to have those. All right, this one, unlike the other Dells, did not fire up immediately. But the power button works great. Fans are going strong. The onboard diagnostic LED lit up, so it should be good in terms of function. And we will see if it's got a dead CMOS battery like the rest. One thing I'll say is I don't see any video output. It does have the AMD Vision on, or the ATI Vision on board. I'll give it a little bit of a shot here. Again, this is built for Windows 7. All right, so with the DVI on board, makes me wonder a couple of things. Do we have a bad graphics card? Looks like it's seated properly. I don't see any bad caps. No corrosion, no leakage. Just have no video signal. So we'll try a couple of things here. All right. Well, you always keep spares of everything. So in this case, I've got a spare Dell monitor, and it's got VGA and DVI. So we're going to go ahead and see if switching over to the DVI gets us a signal off the video card. And if not, we should get DVI off of the main board. But I've got to find the DVI cable. Bear with me. Okay, this is kind of exciting. I couldn't find a DVI cable very quickly, so apologize for the wait. We're going to try something. And if this doesn't work, well, who cares? I've got an HDMI cable and I've got two DVI to HDMI adapters. We're going to see if we can use two adapters on the same cable at the same time. Now, if anybody already knows the answer, don't spoil it for the group. And if nobody does, this is going to be an exciting first for all of us. These are handy to have around, and as a matter of fact, I was looking for an excuse to use them. So this is exciting for me on several accounts. We'll go ahead and pull this VGA, excuse me, and plug into our board. DVI first. Give that a shot here. Make sure we don't accidentally knock this off the table. Workbench, I guess. And then we'll go to the other side on this handy Dell monitor. And, I'm just gonna rotate it a little so I have access here. Now, the nice thing about this Dell monitor, and I've used it in a number of videos in the past, is it has S-video, standard RCA video, it's got DVI, it's got a USB port, it's got a USB 1 port. I mean, it's got ports upon ports upon ports. So my hope is that this works. If it doesn't, not the end of the world. But I'd rather not have to have y'all wait for me to find a mystery DVI cable that may or may not exist. So let's go ahead and plug it in. And might have to change the input on it. But we'll give that a second here. All right, we had some power on. Let's see about manipulating the input. Power's on. This video, composite, D-sub. Let's just keep it rolling just to see here. D-sub is correct, but not getting any output. Could be a bad video card. Let's try the onboard. I don't know if DVI is meant to be hot swappable too, so that could be part of it, but we're also trying to do two adapters to HDMI. All right, let's send this down for boot. All right. We'll see here. Could be the adapters. Again, this is fresh HDMI adapter. Yep. And I don't know. Let me just try and cycle this. Oh, DVI. Here we go. All right. No signal, at least from the onboard. Let's flop down to the DVI on the graphics card. And see if we get any signal here. Still nothing here. So the only other thing I can think of is it might not be hot swappable. Let's try that first, and then we'll look for a real DVI cable. Now the multi-card reader up front is kind of cool. It's got mini MMC, SD, Microsoft their proprietary memory stick, Pro and Duo. It's got XD, mini disc, compact flash, and the smaller form factor stuff. But yeah, this looks like the adapter to adapter is probably not working. So I'll have to find a DVI cable here. I'm hoping I've got one handy. Although it's probably the least likely to be just sitting around. Let me see what I can find. All right, well, suffice to say I could not find one, which is a bit of a bummer, but I guess we'll just call it a lost cause here for the DVI, but we do have native onboard HDMI, and that is the last ditch effort I think we're going to try here, is to get one last test. Oh, you know what? Actually, there's HDMI on this card. So let's, before we pull the onboard, let's try the graphics card HDMI. Well, sorry for wasting everybody's time there. If this works right away, that will be substantial. This video, composite. Does not look like we're getting anything from the graphics card. Try and sink this down a little bit with the screw. Sometimes these have to be screwed in before it kicks a signal. No, unfortunately, I'm not getting anything here. This video composite T-sub. Oh, nothing off of the graphics card HDMI port. So we're going to just give the onboard HDMI a try. And hopefully it's just a boot config issue. Could be that it's got a bad graphics card, but we shall see. HDMI should hot swap okay. Y'all get to see it before I do, if anything does happen. Yep, looks like still no signal there. Well, this is kind of a bummer. With an XPS, I was really hoping for something. Let's give it a reboot here. I do hear hard drive sounds. So, unfortunately, I guess our Studio XPS is going to be the one that gets put in the deeper dive category. I'm really bummed. I hope you all can tell that. This one was kind of an exciting one. But no worries. I've got other graphics cards I can throw in it. I've got other options in terms of hard drive, memory, you name it. So not the end of all things for this machine, but certainly does not inspire as much joy when it doesn't just fire up. But they're usually in the junkyard for a reason. Sometimes the reason is they don't work. I do like the little protectors on the back here. That's pretty nice. I like to hang on to those, so if nothing else gets kept off of these cases, those things usually do stick around. There are a number of other things that might be impacting this machine where it's not working, but I'm not going to hold my breath on figuring it out right now. Y'all are probably bored out of your minds, like, move on to the next machine, it doesn't work, dude. So that's exactly what we'll do. Let's go ahead and do another one of these larger new ones I've gotten. The exciting thing about these machines is they're all Pentium 4s, and I'm kind of a Pentium 4 fanatic because I never had a chance to actually get one when they were in their heyday. I had an Athlon, and we'll grab one from the far stack here. This one's pretty beat up, case is bent in the back, not really indicative of anything, but you can see the plastic doesn't want to stay on the bottom. It's not broken or anything, so that should just flip back on there. Oh, actually, little break, nothing important. These are very likely to be ones that I recycle. We'll go ahead and swap to our other monitor, or actually, I think we'll just use the Dell monitor since it's Dell Apalooza 2025. I'm sure it's riveting stuff out there. This one's got discrete VGA video and has no onboard video. If it does, it's hidden behind one of these sticker walls. Although discrete video is always more attractive anyway. And that video card is barely in there, so before we go any further, let's just make sure everything's in a proper position to be worked. This one's got the old push button release, and it'll be a miracle if it actually works the way it's intended, because the release side is bent pretty darn good. Okay. Oh. Wow. Huh. I wish I could just easily turn this around to show you. And I hope this isn't a mouse nest. But that was inside. Honestly, it looks like somebody emptied out their dryer vent and just stuffed it in here. So we'll go ahead and pull that.
Daddy, why
hi, buddy.
Out here?
Guest stars coming. This is my youngest son, my wife.
Sorry.
Say hi to Goonie Mama and Soren. So looking inside here, we've got the giant Dell heatsink. We've got IDE. We've got a lot of ribbon cables. Even the front panel is controlled by a ribbon cable. Dual optical drives, floppy. Our discrete video, which is sort of in there, sort of not in there. is actually just kind of floppy because looks like something just kind of shook it loose. Nothing broken. We've got a parallel tasking network card, which is kind of nice, and a Canadian-made modem from Connexent. Our graphics card here is an ATI Radeon of some kind. So we'll go ahead and snap the plastic holder back into place and ease this back in. All right, so we've got the Dell all back together here. We'll put the power cable in now that we've cleared that giant mess of stuff. And this has got USB. We're going to go ahead with the USB. Got 2 beeps, 3 beeps. 3 beeps would indicate to me CMOS battery failure. Let's go ahead and switch this over to VGA. If we're getting anything here. All right, we're going to give it a reboot. Power off. Power on. Power should be on anyway. No beep codes this time. And also no display. All right, that time we definitely have a power off. All right.
Daddy, I need you. Where's Mama?
All right, my middle son needs me for a bit, so thank y'all for joining the stream. I will be back shortly. Take a break, get some water, hydrate, and I'll be back with you in just a jiff.
I don't.
All right, everybody, welcome back. Sorry for the interruption there. Child had just woken up from nap, and he's going to play outside with me here. So if you see him popping on, no worries.
Hey, I found a caterpillar.
Oh, and he just found a caterpillar. Cool, bud. Don't touch it though, because it's probably looking for a place to sleep. It is the end of the fall season here, moving towards winter, so we got a lot of caterpillars roaming around.
I found a ladybug.
Okay, but we're going to pop this open again because we're getting a fault code once, but not twice. So I'm wondering what we've got going on in this case that might be hindering it, other than it's probably one of the worst designs I think I've ever
I
seen.
found wow.
Yeah. All right, so opening this up.
But it's okay. Oh, kick it by the.
Ooh. We've got a fan that's running here. So this is powered on. This heatsink was not connected to anything. I didn't realize that. Let's go ahead and get that back into its proper position. I don't think that's what's hurting anything. Get that fuzzy out of here. I don't see any particular issues with the board other than maybe a dead battery. And it should work fine popped open. There's an LED indicator on the board that's stuck on. Whether that's an indicator of a fault or what, I'm not sure. So we're going to just cycle through inputs here just to see if anything changes.
Daddy, come here. Daddy,
Yeah, you can ride that bike, bud. All right. So we're definitely on the right channel with the D sub, but we're just not getting the video output. So what the problem could be
Daddy,
is, of course, bad video card is my number one. Beyond that, I'm not sure. Now, looking in here behind what I was really hoping wasn't a mouse nest, there is a plastic cable pull that's all chewed up. So that was definitely at one point a mouse nest. No mouse in it, thankfully, but definitely was a mouse in there at some time. All right. You have to push the pedals with your feet, bud. Okay, so we have a full power down now. And just looking over this board here, I'm just looking to see we have no onboard video whatsoever, which is weird to me. But there's a distinct possibility there's a bad video card in here. Did you hit your face, bud? All right, I'm going to go help him out, and then we'll figure out what's going on with our Dell. All right, good news. Sun's figuring out what's going on with our Dell. Go ahead and pull the power cord here. And we're going to just reseat this graphics card. Now, this is pretty loose in here when I tried to plug in our VGA originally. So I'm hoping we can get some answers. It's got a release here, so I think this is an AGP card. All right, let's see here. Whoa. All right, well, this is a really poorly designed system. So all of these cards actually sit in here pretty much floating free. They're not screwed down. And there's definitely some mouse poop on there, which is pretty gross. Well, hopefully I don't end up with trichinosis after all of this. But looking at our graphics card, it is an AGP. And it is definitely an ATI. I'm not sure what ATI though. Oh, here we go. We've got an ATI Rage 128 Ultra, which I actually remember these being fairly nice back in the day. That being said, with mice in here, I don't see that they chewed any of the wires. Anything important anyway. So that's good. The memory is not good, so that's another distinct possibility as to why things might not be working. So we'll go ahead and just pop this back into slot. Make sure all these other peripherals are tight. We'll reseat the memory, which is undoubtedly what the problem was. Alright, so that's all seated. Again, I don't see a mouse carcass in here, so I'm going to assume it's okay. Not going to hold my breath either, but hopefully we're alright. Alright, now that everything's reseated, I believe this just powered itself on. It certainly sounded like it did.
I'm going to break it like this.
Let's go ahead and get our
Daddy, can I
VGA
break
adapter
it
in
like
here.
Dell?
Yeah, you can put that there, bud.
All
right, VGA is plugged in. Let's see if we get any kind of output signal. Now, if we've got a bad stick of RAM, which is possible, we won't see anything, but we should get a beep code. And we don't. No beep code, no display. I'm going to say it's a bad stick of RAM. And we're going to move on from this machine.
Daddy.
We'll figure out
Daddy.
whether or not it boots later. Yeah, buddy. Yep. All right. We'll pull the power on this. Just given the state that this is in, I think this is one we probably gut and trash the rest. And I just found the mouse carcass. So that's gross. We're definitely going to move this over yonder. And we will get that out of town. So, that being said, we got another one for the trash. Let's hopefully we pull another good one. We've got another similar style case. This is a XP system, a little bit older then. Also P4, and it's a Dell Optiplex. This is an Optiplex GX270. Give me just 1 second, I'll be right back with you. All right, thanks for the pause there. Had to find a ball that went into the street. Optiplex here. This one, similar style case, opens up this way. Just given that we found a mouse in the last one, let's open this one up first before we start plugging anything into it. I will say that's the first time I found a mouse inside a computer case. I don't even know how that mouse would have gotten in there. I find that kind of alarming. So if you have one of these sitting in your garage, I would say check for mice, because that's not exactly what I would say a usual occurrence for what I pull out of recyclers. Although this one purely came out of what I would call more of a salvage yard than an e-waste facility. This is clean. This is gorgeously clean by comparison. This one has 4 lanes of memory. I think this is the one with the P4 with hyper threading. It's got a unique ground on the board where the board actually has contacts that fold into the case and ground out on the case. Everything else in here is pretty standard. We've got an IDE hard drive, one optical drive. Everything is just really nice in here. I'm quite impressed. As terms of video on board, so nothing discrete in here. I'm still holding out hope that range 128 is good. But let's go ahead and plug this in. Power supply was tested in October 29th of 2003. This has a huge LED on board, almost like an incandescent light bulb, it looks like. And we've got a boot, Optiplex GX270. We've got a Discat seek error, and it's doing the IDE configuration run through. And let's just see if we can actually see that here. It's kind of hard with this lighting. Apologize for the lighting. This monitor is not exactly the brightest thing in the world. Let's, I've got an extra light on here. Let's turn that off and see if we get a little bit more or less reflection. All right, so we've got a bad CMOS battery, and we're getting the F1 to continue. Hit F1. And let's see if we get this booted up. It was designed for XP. This one is the P4, no hyper-threading, but it looks like we've got a booter. And so far, so good. And we'll go ahead and let that boot. Now, being that I touched a mouse nest, use a little Windex to clean it up. I am not Greek. If you've seen my big fat Greek wedding, you know what I'm talking about. So I'm hoping this will disinfect me just enough for the time being, and then we can get this carcass out of here. Use a good old shop towel. We're going to pull a very small mouse out of there. Again, I do not feel that it was alive while it was in here. All right, so we got a booter, admin, and school. And I had these machines in school once upon a time myself. So this is definitely very reminiscent of school machines I used. Nice little nostalgia trip. Even has that old humming sound that I was not nostalgic for, but I do remember quite well. And the power button works just fine. All right, so we are now down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 more Dell machines that I am very much looking forward to experimenting on in the future. But we've been going for a solid almost hour and a half now. And to be honest with you, after finding a mouse, really want to wash my hands and sanitize my cell phone, which I've been streaming with. I hope you found this entertaining. If not, let me know in the comments and I won't do it again. But definitely we have a couple of machines we want to do some deeper dives on. Got one that's going to be a scrap and salvage, and we've got 10 more to explore in the near future. So if this was interesting enough, we will do another Dell-apalooza stream. We've got 10 more machines to go through, a couple of which have been on the channel before, but many of them have not. We've got some with discrete video, some with discrete audio. We've got some that are stock Dell machines that just need a second look. But thank you again, Urza Master fans. I appreciate all of your time today. I hope you have a great rest of your day. And I know this shirt doesn't fit well, but go Pack Go.